Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the final epic chess event of 2022. It's the World Blitz Championship. Now, if you've been following the last few days, you know that we just crowned a new World Rapid Champion, and his name is Magnus Carlsen, taking the title from Nodirbek Abdusaturov from Uzbekistan, who won it in last year's event in 2021. Magnus is also not the champion of the world in Blitz. It's actually Maxime Vacher-Lagrave from France. Now, the World Blitz is insane. They make them play 21 rounds of Blitz over the course of 2 days. So today we are going to look at day number 1. We're going to track whether the #1 ranked player in the world, that is Hikaru Nakamura, can shake off the lackluster, probably he would describe it in his own words, performance, maybe slightly underwhelming performance in the World Rapid, to make a storm in the Blitz, because this is his bread and butter, and we'll see if Magnus can keep it up. Now, the title of the video is what it is because the storylines are wild. First of all, this entire tournament gets underway. Magnus Carlsen, his opponent plays e4. Magnus's time is running. He's nowhere to be found. The round has started. He's not there. It turns out that Magnus just doesn't give a damn. This man went skiing in the Kazakhstan mountains, got stuck in traffic, and had to run to the board, literally. There is footage of Magnus sprinting to the board and playing this move e6 with 30 seconds left on the clock. Now, if I'm Kovalev, I'm kind of pissed off because Kovalev did not want to start his clock. It was the arbiter's decision to start Magnus's clock. They just do that, you know. And then Kovalev throughout this game definitely did not play the way he normally would. First of all, he plays an exchange French. It like takes all the spice out of the position. I mean, maybe he would have played it anyway, but you know, and then he plays like pawn takes d5, there's this line, black gives a check, bishop e2, castles, just very, very boring stuff, which I feel like otherwise would not have really happened. And by the time we got to a more or less normal middle game, Kovalev then proceeds to trade literally everything. It's almost like he felt bad that Magnus arrived late, and he was like, I don't feel like I'm playing on fair terms. Here's the problem. Kovalev plays in a way that he plays directly into Magnus's hands. First of all, he evens out the clock, because he probably subconsciously was like feeling a little bit guilty that he had so much more time. But on top of that, he also played definitely a game that he would like to have back, giving Magnus a position, like, you know, Magnus only knows one thing. Magnus doesn't care that his opponent's being nice to him. He's just trying to win the game, like he's trying to be the world champ. So what does Magnus start doing? Well, he just starts slowly but surely encroaching on, you know, Kovalev with his pawns, his bishops, and he gets into a rook-bishop, rook-knight situation. And then, you know, he just starts pushing some pawns, and he doesn't really have any claim to win the game, but he has a slightly better endgame. And he just brings his king to the center, brings his bishop back, and slowly just pokes and prods and pokes and prods and doesn't trade rooks because then it would be a draw. And now he rotates the bishop around and starts bringing the rook around the other way. And now this endgame is just winning for black. This endgame is winning for black because black has this and king d5 and b3 and c3 and blah, 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 blah. And white just can't defend anything. And yeah, they get into a low time situation. Magnus picks up a pawn and 2 and then plays rook f4. And yeah, I mean, white just cannot defend the position. So we have king e5, rook g4, and 2-on-1 is winning for black. It's just, the two will go and the 1 will not. And yeah, white resigns. A very weird game to start things off. All right, but Magnus gets the job done. You gotta feel for Kovalev, all right? He just wanted a normal game to start the event. Instead, his opponent runs into the playing hall with 30 seconds on the clock, and Kovalev's like, well, I'm gonna even the timeout. Like, Kovalev just didn't press the foot on the gas because he felt weird about it. You know, I'm not saying even if he did, he would have won or something, but yeah, so he kind of like really played it slowly in the opening, tried to even out the clock situation, and tried to be a good sport about the whole thing, but yeah, Magnus showed up like the Terminator. He was like, all right, well, I appreciate it, but still gonna catch these hands. And Magnus wins. Now, the other best player, you know, sitting there nearby is Hikaru with a fat Blitz rating of 2909. 2909. And he plays a Dutch. He gets us going with a very imbalanced opening. He would never in a million years play this in the Rapid or the Classical, but, and this is why, because of lines like h4, just trying to take your head off, and then h5, and then rook takes h5. I mean, Jakub Boy, this is the other Nordjabek, by the way, from Uzbekistan, Olympic champion. He plays e4, and queen takes h5, and Hikaru puts his king on f8. This only works in blitz. This is like perfect blitz stuff. Like, according to the computer, these lines are always really, really good for white. The computer's always very happy, but Hikaru does a really nice job here. He consolidates his king. Yakuboyev still tries to kind of walk forward with the move e5. Hikaru's like, all right, takes, bishop e6. How are you going to get to me? All right? And in blitz, I mean, this is just an absolute nightmare. Trying to beat Hikaru in like a slightly, you know, more pleasant position, which, by the way, is not even more pleasant anymore. The computer now thinks that black is just simply better. We have long castle, and Hikaru's just not afraid. That's the thing. He's going to take a free pawn if you give him a free pawn. He's not like, oh my god, if I take the free pawn, he's going to checkmate me. No, Hikaru just calculates and is like, there's nothing here. You just don't have enough pieces. You want to attack me? No, thank you. Rook takes d5, bishop back to f6, and do the math. Who's got more pieces? Right? Now, it's kind of a tough spot here, like which pawn to lose. The computer does not bless this move, queen g4. It really doesn't like the prospect of allowing the queen into c7. But Hikaru's got things under control. He plays the move king f7, and he connects his rooks. White plays the move rook back to d2. And now Hikaru plays this very nice move b5. Sacrificing a pawn, that's literally just a free pawn. But it's not, because rook c8 would win the queen. So I don't know if pawn sacrifice is really the right way to describe it. It's more like kicking out the defense of the c-file. Now, white could play the move c5 here, and then black would still play rook c8 and still apply pressure. But instead of that, after b5, we have bishop to e2. And I don't exactly know what happens here, but according to my PGN, this is the last move. I don't know if white flagged or just resigned because he was going to lose another pawn, or if the board just cut out and didn't save any of the moves. I don't know. I'm assuming this was not the last move. But Hikaru wins the first game of the blitz, and Magnus wins the first game of the blitz, and yeah, that really did not stop the rest of the day at all. Now, a few other guys obviously made a run, and just like, you know, any recap, we're gonna cover the storylines of everybody, then we will come back to the big guns, so stick with me. We have Haik Martirosyan from Armenia, and we have Matthias Blubaum from Germany. This one was a Rogozin defense. It doesn't matter, it's blitz. There's no openings in blitz. Queen a4 check is not winning the bishop because of this move. We have an extremely large exchange coming up. There we go, and then we're gonna get another c-pawn trade. So we have the following position. Looks very pleasant for white. White's got the 4 and the 1. And the way you're going to win a position like this with either side is white is going to just, you know, go here and slowly improve and maybe wander in here at some point, try to win these pawns. Black is going to try to win a 2-on-1 in the endgame, create that into a 1-on-0, and just push the pawn down. So let's see what happens when the forces clash. Rook c5, rook c1. We're going to have some exchanges quite soon. Now, all the rooks are staring at each other. So we have rook takes d1 check, so you can't take the queen. Queen back to c7. And some more piece dances. Knight back and forth. h4, h5. All right, that cancels each other out. Knight goes for a journey, attacks the queen. And bishop takes c4. All right, so it's knight versus bishop. All right. Not only is it knight versus bishop, one man is trying to go rook d8. So the other guy plays rook d5. Now it's really knight versus bishop. It's queen and knight versus queen and bishop. Here's the problem. Queen and knight together unlocks all the powers of chess. Because the queen can move like everybody, and the knight can move like the knight. Queen and bishop are a decent combination, but only if you can actually line up on a target. And as you're going to see in this game, black can't really line up on a target. I mean, this is, you're not fooling anybody. Nobody's going to hang mate. White plays e4, and now a very nice idea here from Haik, who plays knight d5. When you are trying to beat a queen, you need to make sure that if your king is going to get checked, you can escape, and there's no perpetual. And there's definitely no perpetual. The other thing you need to understand is that when you get in with a knight, it's going to be really dangerous for the person defending. So black plays bishop d5, e d5. Here's the other problem, though. That pawn is 3 squares away from queening. Are you sure that you can protect that? Check. Queen d2. And I just go d6. And now I'm 2 squares away from queening. So what does black do? Black very quickly tries to create some counterplay with the b pawn. White plays f3, just making sure the pawn doesn't hang. Black plays b4. White plays queen e7. Now, queen f4 check should just be a draw here. Should just be a draw. White plays king h3, and wait a minute, it's actually not so simple. Because if you give me this check, then I just play king g3, so that check doesn't make any sense, right? There's no more checks, and I'm just gonna go here, here. Well, it turns out that's exactly what happens. It turns out that Hayek is a genius. The only drawing move in this position is G5. And the point is that if you play queen takes G5, it's takes, king F8. And I stomp the pawn in my pawn queens. G5, if H takes G5, then black would play H4 and create checkmate chances. So apparently black had to play this ridiculous pawn move, doesn't find it, and suddenly white is winning because white's pawn makes it. That's what I'm saying. You gotta be super careful in these endgames. And Martirosyan just guards his king and makes a second queen. And let me tell you something right now, 2 queens gonna beat 1 queen. I'm sorry. You just don't have the capability to fight back. It ain't happening, okay? So, D8 queen, and Martirosyan gets a nice win. Now, women's side. Yeah, we have a killer in the rapid. We got another killer in the blitz, and her name is Valentina Gunina, and my God, are her games exciting. She managed to, she fell a little bit in the standings in the rapid, but she came to fight in the blitz. This game was ridiculous. So she developed all her pieces, and both sides castled, right? And you think, all right, both sides bring the rooks, nice and easy, everything is good. No, no, no. You leave Gunina unattended, she's gonna play H5. She's like always coming to take your head off. H4. Same side attack, makes no difference. 2 bishops for the opponent, makes no difference. She safeguards the position. And now white blows up the center of the board, does Maria Rabitsa. She blows up the center here. We have takes, take. And now the bishop goes back to f8. Okay. Black was unable to deliver a checkmate right now. But black is going to go here and maybe kind of regroup, as you see. And maybe try to win the next phase of the game. White plays bishop b3. Now black plays a5. She just always foot on the gas at all times. Take. Rook e7, white doing a nice job here, kind of fanning the flames. But now queen g4 hits this, first rank problems, maybe hits the bishop, so the bishop probably has to go back, yup. Yeah, and again, Valentina Gunina does not need a second invitation to the party, g5. She will always attack, always. Bishop goes back to e3, queen slides in, white playing a little bit passively, now bishop f6. Asking the question to the rook, what does it want? And here's the thing. This whole time, white was under pressure on the c-file, right? Well, it turns out white is also under pressure on the h-file. King to g7 opens the door for the rook. That's bad news. Suddenly, white has to play really big defense. Queen f5, g4, but check, and queen takes a2. So I'm still harassing you a little bit over here. King g2, queen a4, and now the queen's going to complete its journey around, right? And go back to e6, and I'm still attacking on g4. And here, just a big blunder. A time scramble mistake. White, of course, should be playing the move queen to d7 in this position, but then it's very scary to allow queen e4. So you got a lot of different problems here. White covers 1, but unfortunately, queen g4 and rook h8. And Gunina just never took her foot off the gas. And the white king now goes for an absolute walk of shame. Rook d1 check. Rook takes d3, queen d1, a4, just making sure that, you know, I got this when I want it. And the king gets walked all the way to the other side of the board, where it meets his fate. Check. You can go to a6. I got queen c6. I will pry the defense away, and I will win the rook, and I will win the game. And, yeah, I mean, Gunina just never stops. Like, it's like the Energizer Bunny. It's like, in the first day of the blitz, she is in first place again, just like she was in the first few days of the rapid. So we'll see if she can keep the momentum going in this one. But it's very, very close. Again, the women's side, it's always separated by like half a point, like 8 or 9 players. So you got a lot of really good, strong players there, like Gunina, Shuvalova, Tan Zhongyi, who just won the World Rapid, Goryachkina, Kostyuk, all of them 7 out of 9, 7.5 out of 9. Very, very close stuff. Now, I got some more fun games for you. First of all, I got Daniil Dubov, who is just like a joy in every single recap video. Now, the thing is, Daniil had a weird day because he got a ton of points, but he didn't play a lot of crazy games. Now, this game I really enjoyed. Here, this is sort of kind of, you know, mean to his opponent who's playing he's playing an IM from Iran. He's not playing a 2700, but, so it's kind of like bullying. But Daniil got a very nice position from the opening here, and he spent the opening pressuring the d6 pawn, right? So he brings the queen back, kind of Maroczy bind position, rook d1, knight back to c2, transfers the knight to the center of the board, and then comes back with the queen and the rook, and it's not the most fun game, don't worry, but it's about to get fun. First, we kick the queen out, and now we've completely paralyzed that d6 pawn. It's perfect play against weakness. Now, black should be a little bit more aggressive here. Black should play b5, which black does. Duba plays bishop d6, nice move. So now both knights are hanging. Knight to e5. But the problem is that black should have traded the knights, not allowed white's knight to get into b6. So white's knight is simply too strong now, and it's anchored in by the pawn. Daniil has a winning position, right? I mean, it was just a matter of time. b4, queen b2, a5. He rotates over, he's just gonna push his c-pawn, and in fact, he's just gonna push everything. He just has to be careful, right? Because the bishop is on the same line as the king. So here comes queen to g3, bishop to b5. I mean, just everything in Daniil's position firing on all cylinders. He's just gonna slowly march forward. f4. Knight into d7. Bishop kicks out the queen. All right, we trading queens, and now rook d4. Beautiful position. Everything is defended by everything else in Daniil's position. King to g1 unpins. Let's get the knight out. We trade. Bishop b5. And the game ends in violent style as Daniil just seals the position completely shut. Brings in his rook. Brings in the pawn. And black is gasping for air here. There is nothing that he can do. But as always, Daniil has a flair for the dramatic. And he ends the game in very fun style. Knight h5 check. The king needs to stay close to the rook. If it goes back, then I will hunt you out from the other side. So king here, bishop check, and g4. And black is eviscerated in this position. I mean, he ends it in a very fun way. He plays not pawn takes f5 check, not bishop takes f5 check, but rook takes f5 check. Rook takes f5 is not check. The point is that black cannot take. And the other point is that if you play rook c1, Daniil blocks the check with a check. Of course, he had to end the game in, like, you know, spicy style. And this was one of just a few nice games that he won on the way to a big scoreline in the first day. Daniil always playing some exciting and interesting chess. But his games weren't like total knockouts, like some were very long. So he got a lot of points, but unfortunately none of them had that like Dubovian magic to them, but that's okay. That's why we have day number 2, but we still got to get him in the recap. This game was completely insane. So this is Duda Giri. It begins with a 4 knights English, and Duda had a weird day. So Duda had a couple of really exciting games, very imbalanced, complex battles, where, you know, he was kind of on the front foot early, and in this game is no different. I mean, Duda just got off to a really hot start here. And as you can see from the position, it's opposite colored bishops, and one just stares right at the king. I mean, it's $1 million position for Duda, who brings out his queen. He brings his rook, and he sacrifices. Wait a minute. I mistimed that. Let's do that one more time. In this position, Duda sacrificed the rook. You already know how it is. Rook takes f6, pawn takes f6, rook takes f6. He's given up a full rook for a giant attack. Queen g5 check on the way. Rook g6, take. Queen h8, king f7, queen g7 is mate. So Anish has to desperately defend the position. Bishop g6, queen c4. The hunt for the king is on. Duda's down a full rook. Anish trying to defend himself. He can't. It's so difficult. Rook c8. Anish needs to sacrifice the rook for the bishop. Duda's not letting him. Duda's king is safe. Queen b1 going for counterplay. Oh my god, Anish hung mate. Oh my god, Duda is a genius. Queen d5 check is mate in 4. Duda misses it. Oh, but he's still winning. He's still winning with that move. But queen d5 check was mate in 4. Double check. Duda almost played a posterizer game once again where he got that mate in 11 this year. But instead he does it this way. Queen back to b7. And now rook takes g6 is winning on the spot. Because after this, You have check here, queen g7, and you're going to pick up the queen. It's completely insane. Dude has got it. He misses it. He misses it. And Anish now has enough time to consolidate. I mean, the attack is still roaring forward, but check, check, and all of a sudden, the pieces are flying off the board, and Anish trades everything, and it's over. It is over. He survives mate in 4. He survives the loss of a full queen, and he converts the point. A tragic comedy, if you will, and that's it. I mean, it's the end of the game. And Duda resigns in this position. Oh my God. Blitz is crazy. So Anish wins, and Anish also has a nice day at the office. But folks, there was 2 men who kind of reasserted dominance, if you will. Magnus once again firing off these French defenses like they ain't nothing. Against Anish Giri, this was a little bit earlier in the day. Magnus once again plays this knight c6, the Uga variation. And we saw him play like this already. Anish just guns blazing. f4, Magnus responding with f5 and g4. Look at this completely ridiculous position. He's just locked the entire thing shut. Anish takes on c5, plays knight e2, and plays a4, looking for bishop to a3. Magnus has nothing. No play here. So what does Magnus do? He doesn't need play. He just gives up the pawn. What? This pawn is supposed to be taken. He's like, no, I want to take it with the pawn. Or you take me and help me out because now I got the rook too on the file. What is this nonsense? King f7 by Magnus. He's like, my king is safe. And as it turns out, you let the engine think. Despite being a full pawn down, black is not worse. Magnus somehow prepared and resurrected a completely dead variation, which nobody plays anymore. And he's just playing it with like it's nothing. Bishop c4. Anish plays knight d4, looking to trade the pieces. Now, make no mistake, white is still better. All right. In fact, white is much better after something like knight to b5. But it's not easy. Bishop takes knight. Queen takes. Pawn takes queen. Now bishop takes. And Anish has a nice position. I mean, something Magnus did here really didn't work. And if we go back a couple of moves, I guess somewhere around here, black just had to be a little bit more careful. Maybe rook c8, maybe b5, computer was saying. But computer is computer, human is human. And despite getting all the way down there, it's Anish who's just calling the shots now. Now, here Anish had to just foot on the gas, c4. He just had to put the foot on the gas. c4, let's go. Instead, he backs up. And now we have take, and the seal. And the bishop is never getting out. The bishop is gone. Bishop is out of the game completely. Despite being a pawn up, the bishop is sealed, which means the knights now go to work, and go to work they do. The king starts walking over. The knight starts walking over. Look at this. Rook takes a5. It's not even worse for black anymore. Bishop f8 gets in to take the h6 pawn, but the bishop is trapped. The bishop now has to wander out this way. And in the meantime, black is going to come back. The knight comes to a4. This knight goes to a7. Oh my. The knight is going to b5 and he's going to take on c3. And in this position, Anish just, I guess, I don't know if he flagged or he resigned, but he's going to lose this pawn and these pawns are going to come forward. And Magnus wins. Crazy. How does Magnus do it? Like, how does he do it? So Magnus takes down Anish a couple of rounds before the end of the day. And the day also belonged to this man. One of them. You're about to find out who. We saw Hayek Martirosyan earlier. In this game, Hikaru played a very imbalanced setup, as you can see. Like this. Hikaru played like a 2 knights tango he was trying to go for, but white didn't really let him have any fun. Hikaru took much more risk in the blitz, and he played the Dutch, he played double fianchetto setups, very cagey setups, if you will. Now, Hayek still played very solidly, just like a lot of players did against Hikaru in the Rapid, and he had a very pleasant position, I mean, without much risk. But Hikaru is able to stew these positions. Just stir the pot, slowly. It's rooks and knights. Rooks, knights, and pawns, and no time on the clock. and it's a dance. The pieces are dancing. In Rapid, the game might be over, but Hikaru asking questions to the white pieces. 4 pieces on the D file. Look at this, knight f5. He picks up a pawn. Now he comes back, trades off the knight. Brings in the rook to b3. Knight comes back, e4 is hanging. Takes. Rook b2 check. Knight to f6 back. Rook asking questions. Where's the knight going? You want to take my pawn on b6? I'm going to get the second rook down here. There it is. Knight takes b6 check. Rook takes h2. And here comes the knight. Knight takes g3. Rook e2 is mate. Rook g1 is mate. Rook h1 is mate. And Hikaru stews Martirosyan to the depths of defeat. And he ended the day against Vladimir Fedoseev. This one was a bishop's opening. Hikaru looking for a 4-move mate. Shockingly, black defends. And then plays this c6 line. And Hikaru was playing a lot of these weird offbeat e4, e5 things throughout the day. As you can see, this is like some absurd stuff. But this is perfect for Blitz. Because Hikaru gets like an imbalanced game, which is all he needs. He just needs a unique position with slight imbalance that allows him to be creative. He gets the bishop pair, and he bursts the center open with the move d4. We have take. Now Hikaru's going to put a rook on the e file, and at some point he might put a rook on the d file as well. Knight. Oh. Do you see the idea? Do you see the idea? For some reason, there's a stupid bishop over here, so the rooks are disconnected. So if you play c takes b5, hello. Hi. Everything is hit. What a move. Hidden in this was a vicious tactic. Hikaru takes on e5 because black cannot defend everything. The bishop is lost and just takes on a5. Like nothing. He makes it look so easy. Knight to e4, a little bit of counterplay being created. Hikaru just trades the b pawn off. And now a super flashy move. Rook takes a4. If you take my rook, queen takes e4 is check, and I'm picking up the knight again. So black goes here, rook b4, and in this position, black just resigned. He was like, I'm good. I believe that you're going to beat me with a rook and a pawn for the knight. And your standings at the end of day 1 of the Blitz are as follows. Surprise, surprise. The king is back. Hikaru #1. Now, there are still 9 rounds to go. He has 10 points out of 12. Ridiculous. This man won 8 games today and drew 4. You got Magnus, you got Giri, you got Dubov, you got Report, you got Martirosyan with 9. None of this matters, okay? 2 guys are probably going to maintain their top position. It's Hikaru and it's Magnus. They got to get 1 more nights of sleep. They're sleeping right now. It's really late in Kazakhstan. And tomorrow we're going to find out. Will Hikaru hang on to the gold medal? Will Magnus storm back? Which one of these other guys is going to play the role of spoiler and demolish everybody else? And make no mistake, just because you're 30th on this list doesn't mean much. You win 2 games, you're right back to the top. So, folks, Hikaru and Magnus go berserk. Couple of other guys on very strong 9 points out of 12. And tomorrow we end the final day of action of the World Blitz and of chess events in 2022. See you then. Get out of here.